Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you to Seema, to Jane, and to Ruby so far for your comments, and everybody for being here. And thanks to Labour Business and is it just Labour Business or SME for Labour?
Both.
Both. Thank you. And the Fabian Women. Thank you for all three. Look, I ran a business for 15 years with my wife before I became a Member of Parliament in 2010, and Caroline, my wife, still does. And it's in training and development. And one of the things that always struck me before the business became a bit larger and we started employing people, which is largely what she does now, is when she was a freelance trainer just starting out, was the ability of the men who were bidding for these contracts to command significantly higher day rates than the women, which ties in very much what I think we heard already. I can't remember which of the three of you made a similar comparison, but yeah, it was about investment, wasn't it? I think, Seema, it was your point about the ability to get investors. And it's the same point. Men automatically are assumed to be worth more money and more highly valued in our business culture and in our economy. And of course the evidence is that this is a very foolish way of operating, because I think we run an economy on a fraction of the talent available to us with our hands tied behind our backs. That is definitely true when it comes to the lack of women in business and the lack of women in senior roles in business. We've heard that figure of 19% of smaller firms, or firms as a whole, being run by business. Here are some more figures. Only 9% of funding for UK startups goes to women. One in 8 women wants to start a business. Meanwhile, to return to that point about investment, men are 86% more likely to be funded by venture capital, 56% more likely to be supported by angel investors. How can that possibly be fair, and how can it possibly be a sensible way to run an economy? We give the lion's share of the money and the support to men who are overall, are they more or less likely to be successful? Now, I've seen some analysis that suggests actually men take more risky decisions and are more likely to base things on hunch rather than evidence. So it's rather the opposite of what the investment decisions go along with. Now, Seema mentioned some of the challenges of work-life balance and how those insights that women develop away from the world of work, away from the world of business, are often where the ideas come from, where the inspiration comes from, and where innovation and creativity can be developed. So there is an economic as well as a social justice imperative in multiple ways, from changing that culture and finding ways of encouraging women to start and to grow businesses. And how are we going to do that? How are we better going to support women who want to have children and work or run a business at the same time? And what about older women? Women who have a career break, women who are that bit older, whose children have left home, but have so much to contribute. Discrimination against older workers in general is absurd, but against women in particular is a real problem. And why? Because why wouldn't we welcome experienced and committed staff in our organisations, especially when they've got great ideas developed from a different part of society? And again, that's Seema's point. So there is a tendency to see older workers at a higher cost on the bottom line rather than a potential source of ideas and performance. And that same point is true for women who want to go and have children. The costs of finding an alternative member of staff, the costs of maternity leave, it's now far more so than paternity leave. I mean, actually, for some reason, it never seems to come up when men have time off, does it? I wonder why. Because isn't it about time we embrace those child-friendly policies Ruby referred to in all of our workplaces and made it possible for the smallest businesses to benefit from them? How about shared childcare provision for smaller firms? Making flexible and home working more available. With technology, this is much more possible than it used to be. So ideas like tax breaks and grants to enable that kind of investment and support for smaller firms. So yes, we can put in place the framework with childcare and family-friendly workplace policies for women workers and business owners alike, if we want to. We could start with enough childcare places at conference, actually, come to think of it. I understand there was quite a row at the start of conference. Was it 14 places? 16. I mean, 16 places? Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing the organisers a disservice there. And I believe the response wasn't exactly contrite and conciliatory in the way it should have been either. I mean, look, we have to lead by example as a party. And of course, I don't want to dwell on that because actually Labour has done that. We have now a very significant cohort of brilliant women Labour MPs, and all women shortlists have been effective. I wonder whether there's an equivalent for women shortlists for some of our boardrooms in larger firms. And I wonder if that's true for finance too, and for support for SMEs. I mean, let's look to America and the Small Business Administration, where, at least in theory, finance for women entrepreneurs from the Small Business Administration is one of its goals. And this ties in with Ruby, one of the things you were saying. And we very much value the work that the FSB have done and the advice and evidence that you've presented to us, and you formed a big part of the 2017 manifesto. So I think this is an area where we do want to work together. And both Ruby and Jane, you spoke about how this might happen, and Jane, you mentioned the benefit system. We're committed to scrapping universal credit with all of its problems. We have a benefit system that mitigates against, as you said, Jane, mitigates against women going to work and starting businesses. So let's put in place a system of social security that helps entrepreneurs to start and grow a business, that addresses challenges around childcare, around sick pay and holiday and pensions for that matter. It's a wider issue than support for women, but women are, as you said, Jane, the main beneficiaries and the biggest group who face challenges from the inadequacies of that benefit system. So Liz, whether it is giving access to advice and support and finance for women startups and scale-ups, whether it's enabling SMEs to embrace family-friendly policies and to take advantage of the talent that's far too often lost in our businesses, we have to address those challenges. There are 6 million businesses in the UK, 4.7 million people who are self-employed. The time we invested in maximising the potential of our whole population, challenges my wife reminds me about, apply to all in smaller businesses. But let's put in place the business infrastructure and support, especially so that women in business can thrive. Thank you.